The Clue Club was buzzing with excitement as their plane soared above the Atlantic, bound for London. They had been invited to a detective convention, and the opportunity to visit one of the world's most historic cities was too good to pass up. Dylan, peering out of the window, remarked, "You know, I've always wanted to see Big Ben. I wonder if it's as big as they say." Sophie chuckled. "It's not a giant clock, Dylan. It's a bell inside the clock tower." Chloe, flipping through a London guidebook, added, "And there's so much more to see. The Tower of London, Buckingham Palace, the British Museum." Max, interrupting, said, "Speaking of museums, have you guys heard about the recent disturbances in London? People are claiming to have seen a ghostly figure resembling Jack the Ripper." Dylan, with a smirk, quipped, "Maybe he's just trying to start a new career as a tour guide." Sophie, intrigued, said, "Jack the Ripper is one of London's most infamous mysteries. If there's a chance to uncover more about it, we should take it." As the plane touched down and the Clue Club made their way through the bustling streets of London, they had no idea that they were about to embark on one of their most chilling adventures yet. Their first night in London, the Clue Club decided to take a historic walking tour. As they wandered the cobblestone streets, listening to tales of London's past, a dense fog began to roll in, casting an eerie glow over the city. Suddenly, a scream pierced the night. The group rushed towards the sound and found a terrified woman pointing towards a shadowy alleyway. "It was him! The ghost of Jack the Ripper!" she exclaimed. Dylan, trying to lighten the mood, joked, "Maybe he just wanted to ask for directions to the nearest pub." But the woman was adamant. "He had a knife, and his eyes, they were glowing." Chloe, ever the empathetic one, comforted the woman while Sophie and Max inspected the alley. There were no signs of the mysterious figure, but they did find an old-fashioned leather satchel with a note inside. The note read, "The past cannot be forgotten. The Ripper will rise again." Sophie, looking determined, said, "We need to get to the bottom of this. London deserves to know the truth." The Clue Club began their investigation by visiting the sites of the original Jack the Ripper murders. At each location, they found similar satchels with cryptic notes. Dylan, examining one of the notes, remarked, "Whoever's behind this has a flair for the dramatic and a serious obsession with history." Max, deep in thought, said, "There's a pattern here, the notes, the locations, it's all leading up to something." Chloe, pointing to a map, added, "The final location is the old 10 Bells pub. Legend has it that several of the Ripper's victims frequented that place." Sophie nodded. "Then that's where we need to go, but we should be careful. This ghost is clearly trying to send a message." As night fell, the Clue Club made their way to the 10 Bells. The pub was dimly lit, with patrons sharing hushed conversations over pints of ale. But as the clock struck midnight, the atmosphere shifted. A cold wind blew through the pub, extinguishing the candles and plunging the room into darkness. While the Clue Club was engrossed in the eerie atmosphere of the pub, Buddy had found his way to the back kitchen. The tantalizing aroma of fresh mutton pies had proven too irresistible for the mischievous dog. The kitchen staff, charmed by Buddy's pleading eyes, couldn't help but slip him a piece or two. Dylan, noticing Buddy's absence, remarked, "I bet he's found the real meat of this mystery." He winked, "And by meat, I mean mutton." Sophie rolled her eyes but chuckled. "Always with the jokes, Dylan." The laughter was short-lived, however, as a chilling wind swept through the pub once more. From the shadows, a ghostly figure emerged, its silhouette resembling the infamous Jack the Ripper. The room grew cold, and the patrons gasped in fear. "Leave now," the figure hissed, "before it's too late." Without hesitation, the Clue Club sprang into action, chasing the phantom through the winding alleys of London. The fog grew denser, making it difficult to see. The narrow streets twisted and turned, and soon the group found themselves separated. Max, trying to get his bearings, called out, "Sophie, Chloe, Dylan, where are you?" From a distance, Dylan's voice echoed, "I think I took a wrong turn at the Tower of London, or maybe it was Buckingham Palace. Either way, I'm royally lost." Chloe, trying to retrace her steps, shouted, "We need to regroup. Head back to the pub." Sophie, using her detective skills, began to piece together landmarks to find her way back. "Follow the sound of the pub's bell. It'll lead us back." As the group navigated the maze-like streets, Dylan, ever the comedian, quipped, "Next time let's chase a ghost in a place with fewer alleys, maybe a nice open field." Despite the chaos, the Clue Club's determination and camaraderie shone through. They were on the trail of a mystery, and nothing would stand in their way. The next morning, the Clue Club decided to gather more information by interviewing some of the local tour guides. The streets of London, usually bustling with tourists eager to learn about its rich history, seemed unusually quiet. The first guide they spoke to, a woman named Eleanor, remarked, "Ever since that Ripper ghost started appearing, business has plummeted. People are scared to take evening tours." Dylan, trying to lighten the mood, said, "Well, at least the ghost is historically accurate. Adds a bit of authenticity, don't you think?" Eleanor didn't seem amused. "This isn't a joke. People's livelihoods are at stake." The next guide, a tall man named Henry, echoed Eleanor's sentiments. "I've been a guide for over a decade, and I've never seen anything like this. It's as if the whole city is under a curse." Chloe, ever the empathetic one, said, "We're trying to get to the bottom of this. There has to be a logical explanation." As they continued their interviews, they met Gregory, a guide who seemed more agitated than the rest. Sophie, sensing something was amiss, probed a bit deeper. Gregory hesitated for a moment, then sighed. "It's not just the ghost. My business partner Lawrence and I had a falling out. He couldn't come up with his share of the money to keep our tour company afloat. We had a big argument, and he left, vowing to get back at me." Sophie raised an eyebrow. "Do you think he could be behind the Ripper ghost sightings?" Gregory shrugged. "I don't know. Lawrence was always fond of theatrics, but I can't imagine him scaring off our customers." Max, piecing things together, said, "Perhaps he's trying to drive you out of business so he can start his own tour company." Dylan, with a smirk, added, "Or maybe he's just trying to give London a ghoulish makeover." The Clue Club knew they were onto something. With a potential suspect in mind, they set out to find Lawrence and uncover the truth behind the haunting of London's streets. The sun had set, casting London in a soft, eerie glow. The Clue Club, having heard of another Ripper sighting, rushed to the scene. A small crowd had gathered, murmuring amongst themselves, their faces a mix of fear and curiosity. Near an old lamppost, they found another note. Sophie, always observant, noticed something peculiar about it. "Look at this," she said, pointing to a set of fingerprints that shimmered under the dim light. "These fingerprints, they're glowing." Chloe, examining the note, added, "And there's that distinct smell of burning wood. It's the same as the previous notes." Dylan, sniffing the air dramatically, quipped, "Maybe our ghostly friend is just trying to set the mood with some scented candles, create a spooky ambience." Max, rolling his eyes at Dylan's joke, said, "Or it could be a clue. The burning wood smell might be linked to a specific location or process." Sophie, deep in thought, mused, "The glowing fingerprints suggest that whoever is behind this is using some kind of phosphorescent makeup or substance. It's not a real ghost, but someone trying very hard to appear as one." Chloe nodded, "And the burning wood smell could be a byproduct of whatever they're using to create the glow." Dylan, ever the joker, added, "Or maybe our ghost just had a barbecue mishap, trying to grill some ghostly burgers." Despite the gravity of the situation, the group couldn't help but chuckle at Dylan's antics, but they knew they were onto something. The clues were starting to form a clearer picture, and the Clue Club was determined to unmask the phantom haunting London's streets. The streets of London, bathed in the soft glow of street lamps, held an air of mystery as the Clue Club began their nocturnal investigation. The echoes of their footsteps mingled with the distant sounds of the city. Dylan, looking around, remarked, "If we don't find our ghost, we could always start our own ghost tour. I've got plenty of jokes to keep the tourists entertained." He winked, eliciting a groan from Max. Buddy, nose to the ground, seemed more interested in the tantalizing scents wafting from the local pubs. Every so often he'd make a beeline for a discarded pie or a stray sausage, only to be gently tugged back by Chloe. As they wandered deeper into the maze of alleys, a distinct aroma caught their attention. The unmistakable scent of burning wood grew stronger, guiding them towards its source. The soft hum of conversation and the distant sound of applause led them to a grand old theatre, its ornate facade illuminated by the warm glow of its marquee. Sophie, pointing to the theatre's entrance, said, "Look, the play's just ended. This could be our chance." Dylan, ever the comedian, quipped, "Maybe our ghost is just a theatre enthusiast, a phantom of the opera type." Ignoring Dylan's joke, the group made their way to the back doors of the theatre. As they slipped inside, the same glowing fingerprints that they had found on the note caught their eye. The luminescent trail led them down a dimly lit corridor towards a stairway descending into the theatre's depths. Chloe, whispering, said, "This must be where our ghost has been hiding out." Max, nodding in agreement, added, "And if I had to guess, I'd say those fingerprints belong to someone who's been handling stage makeup." The Clue Club knew they were close to uncovering the truth. With determination and a sense of adventure, they descended the stairs, ready to confront the phantom of London's streets. The basement was dimly lit, the only source of light being a single flickering bulb overhead. The Clue Club, hearts racing, peered through the cracked door. Inside, they saw a man hunched over a basin, vigorously scrubbing the glowing makeup off his face. The remnants of the phosphorescent substance swirled down the drain, leaving a trail of glowing water. Dylan, whispering, remarked, "Looks like our ghost is more of a wash-off than a wipe-off kind of guy." Chloe shushed him, pointing to a large blanket draped over a nearby table. The team quickly formulated a plan. They would use the element of surprise to their advantage, wrapping the man in the blanket to immobilize him. Sophie, taking charge, whispered, "Okay, team, we only have one shot at this, on my count. 1, 2, 3. With that, the Clue Club burst into the room. The man, taken by surprise, barely had time to react before he was swathed in the blanket, his arms pinned to his sides. Max and Dylan held him down, ensuring he couldn't escape. The man, muffled by the blanket, shouted, "What's the meaning of this? Let me go." Sophie, kneeling beside him, said firmly, "Not until you tell us why you've been terrorizing the streets of London." The man sighed, defeated. All right, just let me breathe." As the blanket was loosened, the man's face came into view. It was Lawrence, the disgruntled former business partner of the tour guide, Gregory. Chloe, realization dawning, said, "You wanted to drive Gregory out of business by scaring away his customers, didn't you?" Lawrence, looking remorseful, nodded. "I thought if I could create a new legend, a new mystery, I could start my own tour company, but I never meant for things to go this far." Dylan, with a smirk, remarked, "Well, looks like your glowing career as a ghost is over." The Clue Club had done it again. Another mystery solved, another legend debunked. As they led Lawrence out of the theatre, they knew that the streets of London would once again be safe for tourists and locals alike. The roar of the plane's engines filled the cabin as the Clue Club settled into their seats, London's iconic skyline shrinking in the distance. The adventure had been thrilling, but the thought of returning home to Pineview and their favourite hangout, burgers and fries, was comforting. Dylan, stretching out in his seat, remarked, "You know, I've learned 2 things from this trip. 1, London's fog is no joke, and 2, nothing beats a good old Pineview burger." Chloe chuckled. "You and Buddy both. I swear that dog has a one-track mind when it comes to food." Max, flipping through the in-flight magazine, said, "Well, it was an unforgettable trip, but I'm looking forward to some peace and quiet." Sophie, with a mischievous glint in her eye, leaned in. "Speaking of which, how would you all feel about a little detour to New York?" Dylan, raising an eyebrow, replied, "New York? Why?" Sophie explained, "My sister just bought an old restaurant there. She's been experiencing some, let's say, paranormal activity. Sounds like another mystery for the Clue Club." Dylan, with a grin, quipped, "From Jack the Ripper's ghost to New York's haunted diner? We're really moving up in the world." The group shared a laugh, the camaraderie evident. As the plane soared above the clouds, the Clue Club knew that wherever they went, adventure was sure to follow.